right, so welcome this evening. Thanks again for joining me. We'll be going through the pre-assessment day essentials. In this, I'm going to cover some of what you should be expecting in terms of what a potential internship would look like, what are some questions you may be encountering, as well as some do's, some don'ts, some strategy, and once again, that if you're able to put in the time, do some of the hang out 1 second. Do the essentials that I'm asking you to do. You can end up successful. So for this particular assessment day, of our 9 firms, we'll be having 6 firms that will be represented: Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, UBS, Citi, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan will be attending. So they're given we'll have 7 interns that will be that they will be looking to take on, and we have 7 people that will be interviewing. The first assessment day, there was 11 interviewees. 11 were preferenced, at least 2 bids for each of them, average of like 3 or 4 bids, and everybody received an offer, and everybody took their offer. So that's great news. That means the formula works. But for you, it means the bar has been raised. And since the bar has been raised, it's going to be essential that in this 7-day sprint to next Wednesday, that you cover all your bases and really put in the time. And as I've spoken to some of you, my job has changed from evaluating you at this point to making sure you put yourself in the best position to succeed. And so going from that perspective, we'll be having some conversations to try and cover areas of improvement that we've been able to identify. So I'll go ahead and jump into it now. So in terms of sales and trading experience, there are typically you'll be rotating at least 3 times over the internship. It's a 10-week internship, paid internship, obviously. And during that internship, in those 3 weeks, those rotations can range from sales desk to trading desks, from equities to fixed income to currencies. And we'll cover some of those desks as well. But as an intern, you will need to show a wide array of capabilities in order to really get the offer. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm just a salesperson, no. You're a salesperson as well as a trader, because any good salesperson has to understand the trading business and has to be able to speak to a trader and understand what motivates a trader in terms of profits, in terms of size of trade, as well as a trader needs to know, that their salespeople are, what they're working for, as well as how their client interactions impact them. So in these 3-week rotations, you may be in multiple desks, and if not, what in terms of on a daily basis, I want to give you an idea. So this is pretty much a look at what the floor looks like. You will be you'll be directly next to people. You have 2 screens, maybe 4 screens, 5 screens, whatever, and your stuff will be completely out in the open. You can hear everybody's conversations. You can hear what's going on in terms of from one area in each of these areas. So closest to you, you may be in the equities area. The next set of desks may be fixed income, and you can hear people talking. So that is the environment you'll be in, as well as your MD or your executive director, or your VP or your SVP will be right next to you. You may be sitting right there next to them. And the great thing about this setup is that in this setup, you can learn easily through osmosis. What is some of the terminology they're using? What is saying hit the bid, lift the bid? This will allow you to really step your game up. And in this environment, you'll probably be on the desk you're assigned to. You'll probably spend, I don't know, 60% of the day on that desk. And when I say on that desk, that doesn't mean sitting at your desk. That means going around, sitting with each of the traders, VP analysts, finding some time with the director, or in order to ask them, what they're doing, watch and learn, see what having just general conversations, grabbing a coffee or something, and then the next, 20% of your day on another desk. You'd arrange meetings, say, oh, over Jim over there on cash equities said he'd carve out 30 minutes of time at this time. So you'd be off your desk, going there, learning about that. The next 20% spending at another desk, starting to network. That's why relationship management is extremely important. We'll go over that. So when you're thinking about your internship, you're going to have to pull up a chair next to somebody and start to learn through osmosis. It's important that you get comfortable as possible so you can navigate the environment. Now, some of the sales and trading roles and desks and rotations, you'll have sales roles, client-facing, having conversations with traders, what ideas you think would be good, as well as making sure clients are able to execute what their, if they need to make a large execution. Sales and traders, kind of hybrid between both sales people as well as traders being able to press the button and execute. Traders, they're looking to manage risk. They're be able to execute trades, going to have lots of market color, and by market color I mean knowing what's going on in the funds flows. Are people selling out of a particular name, a particular industry? How can they talk about that? What's going to be their next big idea? And they get this from multiple sources. Bloomberg. They may look at the largest customer or client list, and those are ways you can insert yourself, identifying what's important to each person on your desk. Structured structures, customized trades, maybe doing swaps, a basket of goods that represent a certain amount of risk level. You may build models, some fixed income groups that trying to sell convertibles, as well as the prime services desk, which essentially is helping the bank work with hedge funds. So hedge funds tend to make money on either a longer short strategy. Sometimes they have to borrow stock, or maybe they have to borrow money to take a position. So the bank will either help them borrow money, or they will lend them stock so they can do a trade. So from there, here are some, in 2012, here are some of the desks, some of the areas, the divisions that people that our interns were on. So FIC, fixed income commodities and currencies, a lot of areas toss them into one division because they're dealing with either futures, options, there's duration to them, convexity, some terms you should probably start looking up, equities, structured products, or otherwise known as derivatives. Let's see here, prime brokerage. So from there, here are some of the desks. So if you notice on the fixed income, some emerging markets, credit sales, credit rates trading, some FX desk, which is foreign exchange currencies, that market never closes, trading, risk management, international FX sales. And then you have some fixed income munis. There's been a lot of talk about munis given these tax increases, mortgages, corporate rates trading, and then within equities, cash sales trading, some institutional retail trading, and here's some other divisions in the derivatives and prime brokerage area. So here are some areas you would likely land. You're not going to be expected to be experts, but you need to know what you'd be walking into in order to speak intelligently about how you'd go about receiving an internship. So I'm actually going to stop and open it up to any questions at this moment. Does anybody have questions? All right. So moving on. So here's some things, what it takes. What does it take to be a sales and trader? Well, some of the things that we've been able to identify out there are some characteristics here. Here are some visuals that you have to really talk about what a SEO intern sounds like, acts like, and really embodies. So one here, relationship management, extremely key. So key to the sales and trading environment, because at the end of the day, it really is, um, it really is comes down to the people, whether they like you, whether they think you're intelligent, and there's some easy strategies you can, take care of to make sure that happens, as well as prepared research. What that means is know where the U.S. Treasury 10 years at, know where gold's trading at, know why you know that, know where the U.S. dollar is relative to the yuan, relative to the euro. So that means doing your research, coming in every day with a plan, coming in every day with your numbers, and that's what we also start to do within the training. As well as polished presence. Polished presence, people say, oh, needs polish. What does that mean? That means so-and-so intern decided not to comb their hair that day. Or so-and-so intern decided to wear white socks with their black pants. Or so-and-so intern just looks like a mess, okay? Or uses too much slang, or just doesn't learn to adapt to the environment and figure out what works and what doesn't. Presence, be knowledgeable. So if you're prepared, you research, you have good relationships, it's easy to have that presence that's positive that you're looking for, okay? So moving on to another essential is passion for the markets. You see me talk about it, you see it on my slides. What does that mean? What that means is that since you prepared research, that you know your numbers and you're able to talk about intelligently and have opinion. And the only way you can do that is by having a passion for markets. And at this stage, it's important to really be interested in what's going on in Europe. What's going in the Bank of Japan, in Japan. What's going on that affects people's lives, okay? Proactive, assertive. You are all here because you don't give up. You will make sure that if you have that tough question, you may not know the answer, but you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. You try and work through it, and that is what needs to be shown in terms of a characteristics of an SEO intern. Salesmanship, quick thinker. You know what? If you may be saying words to me, but unless I believe in you, unless you believe in whatever you're telling me, it doesn't matter. So if you believe, that means I'll believe you, and that's salesmanship. Believing in your product, believing in your ideas, believing in yourself, and you also do that at this point because essentially SEO has gone about putting their faith in you that I believe in you to be able to do what's necessary in order to receive an offer. You all have been selected for the purposes that I believe you can receive an offer if you were to go through a full internship, not based on, well, maybe they may get through a few interviews. No, this is a long-term investment here. Quick thinker, some of the quick math we went over, fun. So, those are some of, my thoughts there. Here's some videos. I definitely say listen to them, hear what they have to say, because this is a reflection of who you want to be, or some of the characteristics of who you want to be. I'm gonna try and actually play one and see if that see if this works.
I agree. Definitely good for SEO. Not only do you get the interaction, you get the network and meet great people, interact with other interns. It's definitely an opportunity to put more time in and get a long run.
It's all about relationships. You can't have the business acumen, you can't have all the market knowledge, but if you don't know how to present it in a way that's digestible and something that people want to hear, and they want to hear from you and understand the longevity of business speaking with it. So it's all about having that knowledge and then being able to connect with people and let people know that they want to invest in you and invest in your success.
Go high from day one. Talk to everybody. You need to know who the power brokers are. Just not at the end of the day, they have to make the decisions. And so making the book organizing lead to what to stay in their place and make them your mentors. But at the end of the day, you have to speak out the way you need. So what is
So that's a sample of the passion to bring to your desk, to your interview every day. All right, so I'll keep on going. So here's some resources you can keep in terms of filling up. In order to manage relationships, you got to follow up. You got to pick up the phone, make the call. So if for all the people that I've sent you the Excel for in order to contact, if you haven't contacted them by now, you're slow. And that needs to get done because most of the peers that are on this call have already reached out, set up times for conversations to have with the alums, reached out to everybody that will listen to them, practice their pitches with everybody that's listened to them, and you'll see there on the doodle calendar, people are putting time in, so you need to put time in as well. Ask informed questions, so go in with the plan. If you're speaking to one of the alum, ask them for their advice. Okay. After they ask your advice, ask them informed question. Ask them what their opinion is on the markets. Be well researched. You can't just show up and expect to do well. You have to put in the time. So follow current events around the world. Obviously, any major market moving events, listen to them, and then have an opinion. We're going to go over how to do a trade idea. Have a stock pitch. Here's some market watch, seeking alpha I like to go for to see where people's opinions are at, or at least how they form their idea. If you want to brush up, on some fundamentals, Investopedia here, the nice video that talks to you about some of the basics, the economists, barons. Those are some higher level macro type thinking. So here's some resources to think about. All right, so I'm going to go through the evolution of a trade idea in a framework. How do you come up with a trade idea? Well, based on observations, based on talking to professionals, based on what works for our interns, there's a few things that when going through an interview or through an internship that you have to cover, and in terms of formulating a trade idea. So this is an example. After this example, I want you all to think about what trade ideas you can come up with in this three-step manner. So in this three-step manner, number one, you need to show facts and support. In this area of facts and support is you show that you've been following the markets, you know where the numbers are at, you're able to say, I know this for a fact, and you pull this from multiple places. You may pull it from a research report. Down there is the resources that I had. This was my trade idea back, in Q4 of 2012. And when you're talking about it, you want to think of yourself as if you're on MSNBC, that you're broadcasting this. That shows confidence. Okay, so for instance, back then it was this past week employment moved unexpectedly from 7.9 to 7.7%. Okay, Hurricane Sandy didn't have too much of an effect on the jobless claims. Jobless claims fell 25,000 to 370,000. Also, fiscal cliff has yet to be resolved. Blah blah blah. This week, upcoming FOMC is meeting to discuss possible QE4. So in this here, when you start the conversation for a market update, numbers are important. 7.9%, 7.7%. What ranges are these stocks or these securities moving in? Important to state that, because as an interviewer, we don't always know what you know, okay? And this helps put a framework around what you're understanding. So if you provide fact support, this is the basics. This is what you pick up and you read in Bloomberg. You can, rehash in Wall Street Journal from the research reports I'll be sending around. This is the first step. Then you transition saying, okay, so I think what's happening, you provide opinion or position, because now I need to know that you're thinking intelligently about what you're talking about. So at the time it was the FOMC meeting was being spoke about. At the FOMC meeting, Operation Twist will likely be replaced with another round of Treasury purchases to an estimated $45 billion per month, expanding total monthly purchases to $85 billion. Okay, so here's some more when you're talking about it, I need to know numbers. How much? How often? If we're talking about housing starts, month over month, year over year, revenue increases quarter over quarter, provide me some of those facts, and use that into your opinion. So, this is what will likely be happening. This is what I think will be happening. So, and that's my viewpoint. But in finance, we speak about numbers, and we speak about, as a sales and trading person, you're looking to make revenue for your bank. You're looking to make money. That's why, that's your purpose as a sales and trading, to bring in, at the end of the day, what's my P&L, my profit and loss. Check it at the end of the day, okay? So from here, you provided facts, you provided support, now opinion, a position. From there, how do I make money? Provide a trade idea. In this, you can go into it. So what I do is I go long, buy gold, currently trading around 1,700. Now it's more like 1,680 per troy ounce into mid-2013, because the FOMC's additional balance sheet expansion has not been priced in, and the debt ceiling will at least need to be raised by 1.3 trillion, such as what happened in 2011. There's also high correlation between the increase in the price of gold and the increase in the U.S. debt limit. Well, obviously, since my Q4, this has not been trending correctly, but there's still a lot of points here to support what your thesis. So at this point, when you're providing that trade idea, you show, what's your trade idea based on your facts, support, your opinion on what's going in the macro area, and you show research. So in this way, this three-step process, you can get your point across, and you have to practice that. So figure out, maybe you want to do a pitch on a company, okay, maybe on a currency, maybe on some fixed income. So here's a step, and if you want, to just kind of hear it play out, this is kind of what it sounds like when the interns are talking about it.
What happened last night, and what happened overnight?
So, the jobless claims came out, and the U.S. only added 69,000 jobs. This was less than half of what was projected. They estimated 100,000 jobs to be added. So this is significantly lower than what they had expected. This did not have an impact on the market. The jobless unemployment rate climbed to 8.2%, and they were estimating, obviously, that it would be 8.1%.
What do you think we should be doing with U.S. Treasuries and U.S. equities after we reach this June 17th hurdle?
I would go on oil.
Why?
It's so low. Yesterday, whenever I had it was at $84 and 1 cent.
Anybody have a more updated figure?
So $83.91.
$83.91. Okay.
That's such a low number right now.
Right.
It's definitely going to go back up again.
I would agree with her.
Why?
Well, just because supply shocks in oil are taxes. They're never. There's no getting around it. So if you want to buy it now, yeah, it might go lower in the short term, but in the long term, something is going to happen where it's going to go back up into the triple figures. But about what you were saying before about U.S. Treasuries, I think their prices are going to start falling, so you might want to short them, because with this recent technocratic economic data that came out, it's going to add more food to the fire.
I could definitely see that.
I think at that point, that's what a lot of people saw last year when gridlock was coming around. People thought the yields couldn't get any much lower. And surprisingly, when the S&P downgraded the United States, everybody thought that immediate reaction yield was going to go up. But surprisingly, people still bought more and more treasuries, bought yields even lower directed lows.
So I'm going to open up to questions now. I want that to be kind of an example of how they're using numbers, how they're interjecting that into their opinions, what you'll do. This is ultimately what you're looking to achieve. So I'm going to open it up to, does anybody have any questions, or anybody want to talk about any of the points that we've covered thus far?
So the trade idea is very brief, just about a minute to a minute and a half?
Yes, usually. So it tends to be, so to kind of hear this play out, and this is something you should practice with amongst in the alumni, the conversation you have with the alumni, the conversation you have with me. a quick, a 30-second update on what's happening in the markets. This is what happened with unemployment. This is what happened with the most recent housing starts. This is where the fiscal cliff is. Great. I think this is going to have effect on the future in X, Y, Z way. I also think that that the next round of there will be another round of quantitative easing, which brings me to my to my trade idea, which makes me want to buy or sell something for a 3-month period, a 6-month period, because of these facts as well as these other facts. And that's what I think is a good idea. Does that add clarity to kind of how quickly it can happen? Obviously, when you're delivering this, it's in a much slower pace where somebody can come along with you on the journey you're taking them with. But given that this is a long presentations, I speed up my language. So it needs to be in a measured pace, fluctuating in how you're delivering it, but it likely won't get past 2 minutes. By then, you create a conversation and you'll be able to take it all types of ways. Any other questions?
How many trade ideas do you think we should have? Should like 2 to 3, or should we have a lot more than that?
So if you read the PDFs I've sent around, research reports, what's happening you should be able to have at least an opinion, have the facts and support around where the U.S. Treasuries, the 10 years, or European 10-year sovereign debt yields at. You should have opinion and position on them. And if you feel comfortable with fixed income, then make it into a trade idea. Same thing with gold. If there's a lot of, I guess, unrest in terms of consumer confidence, if there's major swings, you should know where it's trading at in order to have an opinion and position of where it's going, where it's coming from, and you can naturally make a trade idea. Same thing with currencies, where the U.S. dollar is at. Now, in terms of a pitch for a stock, you'd have to pick, I'd say pick at least two stocks to start creating a trade idea on. And I'll send around the link for how to construct a trade idea around a stock. So honestly, you should be able to go a few ways in terms of 5 or 6 different trade into those 5 or 6 different topics. Now, I'd say definitely prepare one good stock pitch and prepare one good either commodities, currencies, fixed income trade. So at least 2 that you've practiced and have a go-to, and then covering a spectrum of things you can at least have an opinion on or a position on. So those are my thoughts, and the more time you put into it, a little bit easier it gets, and at least now you have a structure and framework, you see how it translates. So hopefully that's helpful. All right, so I'm going to move on. All right. So moving on, some of the easy things here. In terms of interview appearance matters for the men. Comb your hair correctly. Be well shaven. No goatees. No goatees. In terms of the type of shirt, you want to keep it conservative here. Either a white dress shirt or a light blue dress shirt. Ties need to be, nothing that sticks out. So either keep it nice and dark blue, red with some darker stripes, conservative. Shave, have deodorant. Do not put on too much cologne. If you're putting on more than 2 sprays, if you're putting on 2 sprays, that's probably too much. So if you're going to put on cologne, put a spray, like 1 sprit, and that's it. So belts, keep them conservative. Iron your suit, iron your clothes, be pressed, be sharp. Nice conservative socks. Nothing too crazy. You want to be evaluated for your knowledge and what you bring to the table, not for anything else. If you have any questions about any dress concerns or whatever, feel free to call me, email me, and we can talk about how to figure things out, because that is what I'm here for. So some of the things not to do: the gecko shirt. Definitely stay away from that. That means the let's see here, the white collar, white cuffs. Leave the cufflinks at home. No pink ties, skinny ties. Please don't. Bow ties, don't even think about it. If no purple shirts, no purple on purple, no red on red. Any socks need to be conservative. Leave the cuffs at home. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Here's some decent examples of something nice, conservative, and looks professional. If you're outside of this, it's not positive. So I'm going to open up to any questions at this point. So if anybody has any specific questions, feel free to ask now.
Hey, I have a question. In regards to the last slide, in regards to the stock pitch, is there a time frame of the stock pitch that's too short or too long? Meaning your thesis for it to play out, could it be like 1 week? Is that too short, or is it 2 years too long?
Yeah, good question. So in the environments you'll be going into, if you want to do a long-term value investing, you want to be Warren Buffett, that's asset management. You're looking to be market makers, and by say market makers, matching sellers with buyers, specifically clients, so they don't have market risk, and taking a spread off of that. I'll be sending out an email that will help you understand that a little bit better. But you want to keep it at least within a year. Anything more than 6 months, you better have a really good thesis, because within a week, I think it's anything shorter than a week, probably no, unless there's a major FOMC event, there's a major earnings report coming out. So you want to keep it, somewhere within at least under a year, in the 6 months range, no shorter than a week, or around major events. That shows your research, that shows what's coming up, any specific events. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. Any questions about dress? All right. So, and I'll even be shaving for that event. So for the ladies, once again, keeping it conservative, black high heels, not too high, not looking for stilettos. Everything should be pressed. Keep earth tones, conservative jewelry, nothing dangly. Leave the purple passion and pink berry nail colors for another time, not for this occasion. Open toes, please no. Dangly bracelets showing your personality. Really not necessary in this environment. Want to keep either a pantsuit or a skirt that goes at least past your knees, and as well as having neutral colored hose. No flashy belts, no flashy makeup. Just keep it conservative. We want to know what's going on in your mind. So once again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, and I'll be sure to link you up with one of our many female program managers here at SEO to assist you. And here's some varieties that are perfectly fine. I prefer darker suits rather than lighter suits, but whatever you think works within this band. So I'm going to unmute again if there's any questions regarding this. All right, moving on. So on the day of the interview, these are the easy things to take care of. Okay. On the day of the interview, be on time. And when I say be on time, that means on time is 15 minutes early. If you're past, if for this particular occasion, you need to be here 30 minutes early. Everything will start promptly at 5:30, or we hope promptly. So I want you to be here at 5. And the reason you need to be here at that time, because as you see the person at the bottom, they're on time. You're thinking about what are some of the trade ideas I'm going to have. I'm able to have conversation with you, help you strategize. Any last minute adjustments we can talk about. You're nice, ready to go. Because what happens when you're not on time, when you're not at least 15 minutes early, you think about, oh my God, am I going to get there? What if I'm late? Am I sweating too much? And you're not even remotely thinking about what your strategy is going into your interview. So you may get there on time, but as soon as you sit down, you'll be asked, okay, ready to go? And it's a tough thing. As well as your posture and your attire, obviously has been addressed in terms of you're always going to be evaluated in this profession for professionalism, because you're always looking, if we are going to see you for the next role, can I see you getting an offer? Can I see you being a good analyst? Can I see you going to associate? Can I see you dealing with clients? Can I see you leading an internal team? And these are all things that show. So, you'll pretty much be observed at all times. And same thing will translate into an internship. As well as what I mean by props here is, this is not the time to be fabulous and show that you have a venti latte that's extra big. And no, leave the props at home. Leave your energy drinks at home. That's not necessary. Nobody is interested in that. I'm only interested in what you bring to the table, and then you can be my intern or my analyst. Bring a Padfolio, a pen. I will have copies of your resume here, so no need to print out a bunch of copies because I'll be taking care of that. Ladies, a nice dark bag, keep it professional, nothing necessary. Have your map to get to where you need to be. Google that. Use Hopstop, especially here in New York, to figure that out, and you need to get that straight. So some of the other basics have an order. Eye contact is extremely important because it's a relationship business, and you need to be able to look someone in the eye and tell them and have them believe in you. Firm handshake. No, fish hands. That doesn't work. You're also not looking to have a vice grip on somebody. That's just not necessary. Your professional attire, as we've already addressed. Have your story down. 30-second stump speech will give you some of the reasons why. Make sure your breath smells good. Mints, not gum. Okay, this is important, and it's an easy thing to check off. So, have mints, brush your teeth, get ready to go. Because once you brush your teeth, you have a nice, clean, white smile. Use that smile. It's okay to smile. If I'm gonna have you at my firm, I surely would like you to smile. So, moving on a little bit. So, some tips. Go in there talking the talk. You've been selected for this assessment day because I believe in you, because SEO believes in you, and that means you should believe in you. And if that's the case, then everything will work. I honestly hope we can have 100% offer rates or hit rates this year, and I think it's possible. So know that's achievable. When you're give specific examples of experiences on your resume, and we'll go a little bit more into that later. You want to always tie it back to why you'd be a good fit for the role, why you'd be a good fit for a sales and trading floor. You want to talk about what you did, what your role was, what your impact was. And always, if you're a finance person, quantitative, qualitative, give me evidence. Always give me evidence in terms of numbers, in terms of, ranges. Very important. So then we talk about have opinion on the markets, obviously convey with passion. Think about, what's your 5-year plan? What do you think is doable? What would you like to do with this experience? Where do you see yourself? As well as the easy one, why do you want to do this job? So we'll talk a little bit more going forward. Now, 30-second stump speech, the reason this is important is because you will not be using it necessarily in your interview. You may introduce yourself, but you won't be here doing your stump speech. Now, in passing, you will not be seeing every professional here, but while you're getting pizza or in passing, or you never know when, you want to have your 30-second stump speech, because these things occur. You never know when you're going to walk into the elevator with the CEO. this has happened to me where, the person I see that's the CEO of the company, I walk in the elevator, oh my God, it's him. What does my colleague do? Freeze. What I do? Straight into my 30-second elevator pitch. This is me, this is so-and-so. By the time we're down from the 50th floor to the first floor, I already know why he's there, what he thinks about my business, wish me luck, some words of advice. And you never know when you use it, but you're always going to have to use it because now you're going to be professionals. So here's some things: education. What university? I'm Albert Cruz. I'm from St. Mary's University of San Antonio, Texas. I graduated as a corporate finance major with a concentration in international business, specifically Latin America. Some of the interests I have, well, I love sports. I love to compete. I was a baseball player, and I try and take that competitiveness and sportsmanship wherever I go. So those are some of the things that I think. What about you? What interests you? How do you like your firm? What do you see the markets doing? And this is how you kick off a quick conversation that works. All right. So I'll keep on moving. In terms of type of interview questions, as I explained to somebody earlier today, that you're not going to have answers to every question, but you're also never going to give up. But for the questions that you do receive, you surely can plan. And in that plan, you can have a few responses with your resume already pre-baked. You know what the job description is in sales and trading. You know yourself. Now, how do you translate your experiences from paper to wise sales and trading? And essentially, we'll go about creating a strategy. When do I pull out my experience of team building? When do I pull out my experience of leadership? Okay, you're not, when do I pull out my experience where I made my first trade or where I made my first trade idea? You won't be able to use every one of the tools in your toolkit, but you will be able to use them when necessary. And it's important to use the tools that are necessary to cover the points and answer the questions that are being asked. If you need to nail, hammer in a nail, you don't pull out a screwdriver and a wrench and a hammer to do one job. You pull out the hammer, you take care of it, and you move on. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. Some of the ways of how to answer, you want to project your image professionally. Here's a STAR acronym: situation, task, action, result. So if you're asked about the time you felt a difficult experience, well, the situation was so-and-so. I was tasked at resolving the dispute between my my 3-member project group. The way I did that was being able to create an open forum, as well as everybody putting their ideas forward and having a democratic process to vote on which was the best, and then having complete buy-in. The result is we all agreed, worked diligently for the next 2 weeks, had check-ins, and we all got an A. So this here shows that you've done your homework and and that you're passionate, right? So as well as you're definitely going to get it. What makes you the ideal candidate for this program for sales and trading? It's not unless you have an event that directly ties to sales and trading, it's not necessary to go to your childhood or your high school days. You want to keep it as current as possible, unless you're trading stocks at the age of 7. But that's not likely. So you want to keep it with 1 to 2 minutes. It's a commercial. Focus on your skills, your accomplishment, direct experiences that you did to relate. Here's some other type of questions you may run into. The point is that you prepare, you're able to use your resume back and forth, and are able to translate those experiences to whatever question you're asked. Okay. Behavior questions: tell me about a time. Describe for me a situation. Give me an example. You need to illustrate for the interviewer what you've done and how it relates to sales and trading. Okay, and in this fashion, you can prepare for that. And it's important to continue to use quantitative and qualitative answers. Tell me about a time. Here's some behavior questions, and it's important never give up and you stay focused. Hey, you'll have multiple interviews, so if your first one doesn't go well, you'll be ready for the next one because you figured out already. So in terms of tell me about a time, we'll go through a quick example that people tend to have an issue. Tell me about a time I finished work or school project. Well, we were given a group project by our professor. We had to research XYZ topic to present to the class. We first did, then we, and finally we, and more we, and too much we. This is not the time or place to be French. So keep the we out of it, because at the end of the day, they want to employ one person, and that's you. So it's important that when you're giving an example, to state what you did specifically. For example, I was part of a 3-member team, quantifying, where we had to do XYZ in terms of a group project by a professor. Fine. I had to research XYZ topic, and I presented to the class. I first did, then finally we combined such and such, and we ended up getting an A. In this scenario, I know what you specifically did. I can reference to the examples you gave that you took care of the numbers or you took care of the presenting. I can specifically refer back in my mind of what you'd added to the project. So I'll stop there and see if there's any questions. Does anybody have questions thus far? All right. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging in there. We're almost to the end. So after the interview, then what? Well, after the interview, we got to make sure you're on point and continue to be professional. After the interview, I highly recommend that after each interview, you ask for their contact information. Can I shoot you an email? Or, I'd love to keep in contact. Or, if it's a complete bomb and you don't like the person, it's okay not to get their email. But for most of the people, you want to make sure you get their name, get their name, write it down on your little notepad, get their card if you'd like, and because I'm going to require you to send a thank you email within 24 hours. This is very effective. This shows your professionalism. So when you're doing that, email etiquette is very important. You want to read through what you said and think about it clearly, that you don't come across negatively, okay? Sometimes you can be misunderstood. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Never omit a greeting. Dear so-and-so, we use first names in finance here on Wall Street. No, it's not necessary to use a last name. Best regards, thanks. Put your name. Okay, so these are some things to think about when you're writing your thank you email. As well as at the end of the interview, they'll ask, do you have any questions for us? You need to have questions. How did you get started in the business? Can you talk about how your business has done over the year? What's your debt strategy to generate profits? What do you believe are some of the things that I should know in order to move through my career, such as yourself? How do you go about managing relationships? This all shows that you know what you're talking about. So at this point, here's some easy ones. You don't have to be like, oh, I don't have any questions. Yes, you do have questions. And here's some examples, because you want to move it forward. Because this is just the beginning of a relationship. Hopefully, you can dovetail this into your second job. These relationships you can keep taking on and on and on. And it's always very important to continue to maintain those relationships, have people's opinions, because you don't know if you'll be in the firm you're at in 1 year or 2 years. But if the interviewer you kept in touch with remembers you and knows that you're doing a good job wherever you're at, you just find your next opportunity. So follow up, make yourself memorable in a good way, not a bad way. You get inside track informations. You get guidance that you'd never be able to get on your own. So these impressions are important. So after the interview, I'll be giving you guys an SEO notebook, some details before moving on. If you need to clarify, can I get your name down correctly, or how do you spell that? All right, or can I get your card or whatever? And need you to get that email queued up in the next 24 hours. And if you don't remember the information, remember what you can, and I'll help you out getting what you need to get. Okay. So here's some things. Dear so-and-so, I'm so-and-so from the University of XYZ, or if you shared something in common in terms of region, you went to the same high school, you whatever, or you gave a good trade, they're like, oh, that's a good trade idea, or you pitched a certain stock to help them remember you. So it was great interviewing with you at the SEO Sales and Trade Assessment Day. I appreciated XYZ. Thanks for your advice. I hope we can keep in touch. I'd like to express that it would be a great opportunity to be an intern at your firm. Best regards, so-and-so. Thanks. So appropriate signature, very important. Now, you got to get smart on some of the companies. You don't need to know everything about it, because in terms of the layout, you have 30-minute interviews. You may be with 2 different firms at the same time, so you can't exactly profess your love to J.P. Morgan while Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs is in the room with you. No, but you can at least have a general idea of what some of the things that Citi puts on their website to say it's important, or whether some of the most recent press releases. Earnings happened today or yesterday with Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan. Have an idea what happened. Know where financials are at. Know what the competition is at. So I've also attached some summaries. These are a little dated back to looks like the beginning of December on each of the firms that will be there. Morgan Stanley, some headlines. Go to Bloomberg.com. See what headlines are out there. Read some of this information. What is it they put out there that they think is important? What are some feathers in their cap that they think are important? So here are some examples of quick profiles, and like I said, I'm always looking to try and put you all in the best position to succeed. So that's pretty much all I have for this evening, and I'll open up to any questions at this point.
When can you ask for feedback? Should you ask for that at the end of the interview? Should you save that for the follow-up email thanking them, or should you even ask for that at all?
Good question. So in terms of feedback, so if you feel like you bomb an interview, or they ask you multiple questions, you have no idea, like you just don't know, and they look frustrated or whatever, and at the end of it, you'd be like, okay, well, I didn't know the answer. What do you think? Or I didn't understand the concept between the price and the yield of a bond, which you better understand. Can you clarify it for me? And then they'll clarify it. So when you go into your next interview, you don't make the same mistake, but you have to evaluate that situation to see, their reaction. Okay, as well as don't ask feedback in email. You just want to say what a great experience you had. That feedback, should come at another time, because at this point, you're looking to present yourself as best, because usually candidates are the hardest on themselves, and you may not know you're doing well, but then you go blow yourself up at the end. It's pretty frustrating at times. So be very measured in that. Any other questions? All right, so things you should be doing: sending out emails to alums, setting up times to have conversations with them, continue to follow the markets. All of us should be having conversations by the end of this month. Your resume, check out my tutorial and make tweaks to your resume. Make educated guesses and then send it to me. Otherwise, it's going to be multiple iterations. I plan on sending them to the banks by Monday afternoon. So, I want you to get them done by Friday, earlier than later. Remember, you're working towards your offer. I'm not your professor. You're working towards getting your offer. You're working towards getting on a desk. This is for your best efforts. And I have expectations myself. So get that in as soon as possible. I appreciate all of you for working hard. I know it's a sprint. I know it's difficult, but come along with me. and we'll be able to get you there. So those are some of the things I have to say regarding some of the things you need to get done. All right. So thanks again. I look forward to our conversations coming up, and I will see you in person Wednesday at 5 p.m. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Albert.
All right. Bye-bye.